Hello, welcome to week 4 of Ready to Homeschool, a 6-month countdown. There is a paper that you can download on my blog if you'd like to go and make some notes. That'd be fine. This week we're going to be talking about a home routine. I've subtitled it Empty It to Fill It because it's the idea of taking whatever's out of your life that's not very productive and filling it with things that are more productive. We're trying to find ways that you can use your time better, so kind of time management. But one book that really helped me with this is called It's About Time, and I put the guy's name, Ken Smith. There's quite a few books out there called It's About Time. You want to find this one if you're going to buy it. You don't have to. I just wanted to point out that that's where I got a lot of my ideas. The idea is to fill your time with things that are pleasing to the Lord, beneficial for your children, rewarding in the future. I have a couple scriptures to share with you on that. One is from Psalm 90, which was written by Moses. It's a prayer of Moses. Psalm 90, verse 12 says, "Teach us to number our days aright, that we may gain a heart of wisdom." The idea that we need to remember that we are not going to be alive forever, and each new day is a new opportunity to spend it in service to God. So gaining a heart of wisdom will help us be more discerning about how to use our time. And then another scripture is by Jesus in John 9. He was talking about a man who was blind. And as he's getting ready to do a healing, he points out that as long as it is day, this is chapter 9, verse 4, as long as it is day, we must do the work of him who sent me. Night is coming when no one can work. And Jesus is just pointing out that we need to take advantage of the opportunities that we have each day that come our way to do the work that God has given us. I'm speaking to you mostly. I'm imagining that you're a stay-at-home mom with several kids. If that's not your situation, that's fine. Adapt what I say to that. But just think about what you are doing now and how you're raising the next generation and what you want to impart to them and how every day matters. So some of my ideas, like I said, came from this book, It's About Time. And he has the idea that you can have anchors in your day, that you don't necessarily have to plan out every single minute, but there's certain times of your day that need to be kind of standard. And I put that a routine helps everyone. It's just another thing to put on autopilot, to have some sort of a basic structure to your day. So a time that you usually get up, a time that you usually have your breakfast, your noon meal, your evening meal, a time that you usually try to get everybody to bed. Not that those things are rigid and perfectly on time every minute. I'm thinking of the guy in The Sound of Music where he had his whistles and he blew whistles to signify every single minute like the Navy. Nothing like that. But it is simpler if you can have something that's established. Your kids' routines will be a little more settled. Your own routine will be a little more settled when everybody kind of knows what to expect for the different phases of your day. Using the idea of anchors in your day, you've got the idea that there's certain times of the day that you usually just reserve for, you just know that's going to be your breakfast time. There's your lunch, your supper, and your bedtime, and you can fill it as each week goes by with different activities. One summer I tried to think about what I wanted to do during different times. And this happened to be the summer that I was going to physical therapy. So that was something that happened every Monday, Wednesday, Friday morning. And then we run an antique store on Thursdays. So every Thursday was blocked off for that. So this was kind of like my idea of what the weekly routine would kind of be. And then I could see where I had chunks of time that I could fill with different activities that needed to be done. I want to alert you to a certain book that's out there, and Structure and System. It's by Terry and Stephen Maxwell. It's called Managers of Their Homes. And they are more rigid than I have been, but it has helped many of my friends and people to just think about how they wanted to use every minute more wisely. And they actually recommend taking each person in the house and giving them a different color and going down with a schedule and then post-it notes showing where each person is going to be during each part of that day. This is an amazingly efficient system. I never adopted it. So if you want to do something like that, look for Managers of Their Homes. I think you can still get the book used on different websites out there. I put the author's name there so you could find it if you wanted to read more about that. So thinking about your anchors for your day, what are the non-negotiable time constraints? What do you have to deal with on a daily basis? Like if your spouse has a job and has to be there by a certain time each day, then what time does that mean, or how does that affect your schedule? Maybe you don't get up with them because it's so early in the morning. Or maybe you do get up and have breakfast with them before the kids. But how does that affect your day and your kids' day? What time do you want to eat your meals? Are you involved in church commitments that have you at church at a certain time during different parts of the week? Those are the kinds of things that you need to write down as non-negotiables and plan around, because those are the things that you have already said are very important for your life. If there are things on your calendar that are eating up your time and you've decided they aren't very important in your life, then you need to start looking for a way to back out of those commitments if possible. It is easiest to plan around your meals and your sleep requirements. Don't neglect the fact that your kids need extra sleep. You might need extra sleep, especially if you're not getting much sleep with a newborn or with a child that has some kind of a health issue that you're up during the night. It is okay to plan quiet time. In fact, I highly recommend you have a quiet time even when you have older kids, because a quiet time will give you the needed break that you need in your day to kind of regroup and refresh. And if you need a nap, you have it already in place that your kids understand that they're going to be reading books quietly for an hour right after lunch. It works in some families, it doesn't work in others. I tried to insist on it while we still had preschoolers. It hasn't really worked lately with teenagers. They don't really appreciate that. Okay, there will be some sessions coming on setting goals, planning some chore times, setting up an actual more detailed homeschool schedule. Like we'll actually start talking about how you want to fill it in with reading or language arts or math. We're not doing that yet. For now, I just want you to analyze your usual routine and think about areas that you might be able to improve. Okay, this next part is for if you have several kids at home and you're a stay-at-home mom and you need to keep on top of what's going on all through the day. You need to be mentally alert to what's going on in your home. You need to have a management mentality. It's not that you necessarily are going to get a lot of things done, it's that you are going to keep your kids on track. So in your head, you've got this little tiny invisible voice that's talking to you. I mean, it's you. And you're saying things like, okay, I'm going through the names of each of my kids because you're trying to figure out where they all are and what they're doing. So you start with your oldest, okay? You just kind of mentally, you don't necessarily have to call him or interrupt him or go say, what are you doing? But mentally as a mom, you just want to say, all right, I'm checking to see where this kid is and what they're working on. And if it's not good for them or it's not beneficial for them or they have some other responsibility they were supposed to do first, then you just step in and say, I thought you were working on this. Okay, so in your head, you're going through every single kid. Start with the oldest, go to the youngest. Okay, before you go back to the oldest, then say the word food or kitchen responsibilities or whatever. You're thinking about what you're serving for dinner for the next meal, what needs to thaw out from the freezer, if the dishwasher's been run, whatever is going on in the kitchen, that's your next thought. Laundry is your next thought. If you have a lot of kids, there's going to be a load of laundry that needs to be done every day. Unless you have a different system. If you have a different system, that's great. But otherwise, doing a load of laundry will help you every day. So the food, the laundry, and then the next thing, whatever the next thing is that you had planned for the day. Maybe you have a meeting for church that night and you don't have your notes quite finished. Or maybe your family's planning a trip to Disney World and you haven't bought the tickets yet. Okay, so like you have several other things going on in your life. And so like that next project has some kind of step that you could take advantage of that moment to do. But while you're up and about, if you're not actively involved with all of your kids in a project for that moment, for that like 10 minutes, 20 minutes, you want to be thinking through where all of your kids are, what they're doing, and kind of rotate that list in your mind every 5 to 10 minutes. This means you're getting nothing else done. 100% agree. You're not getting anything else done. You are a manager in your home. You are taking care of what needs to be done to keep your household moving smoothly. If you really need to focus on a project, like if you've got paperwork or checks or bills to pay or a lesson to plan for Awana or something like that, and you really need focused time for yourself, then you should be saving that for quiet time or after supper when your husband is home, or you should find somebody to watch the kids and just knock that out for a few hours. Last resort is to put them all in front of a movie with a bunch of snacks and just tell the oldest to come get you if there's an emergency. I've done that before. It's possible. But you don't want to do that every single day. All right. The chunk of time that you have between breakfast and lunch is going to be your most productive. I say productive because I mean that's when most of everybody in the family is alert and ready for the day and wants to do something exciting. So guard that chunk of time carefully. Don't get into the habit of just, laying around in sweatpants until 10 or 10:30 in the morning and then being like, well, I guess I should probably brush my hair for the day. That's not a good way to spend your time, especially when this is the kids' best moments of the day, when they are excited about doing something exciting and new. It's a fresh day. So guard this chunk of time carefully. Between breakfast and lunch, guard that chunk of time carefully. There are going to be times where you need to be out of the house doing things, and that's fine. But remember that being home, giving your kids instruction, and giving them correction when they have done something wrong is going to take a lot of time. It's going to take a lot of the parents' time. It won't necessarily take a lot of the kids' time. They don't necessarily want to do that, but you need to insist on it. If their behavior is not what you're expecting it to be, then you need to guard that time where you are free and available to discuss things with them. Sometimes the most productive thing is not the math lesson. Sometimes the most productive thing is talking to a child about how their behavior needs to improve, or how there's a heart attitude that needs to be talked about and discussed and focused on. And we're going to get to that more next week when we talk about shepherding a child's heart. So it is okay to go places. I don't want to say that you shouldn't ever go places. You need to go to the grocery store. You need to go to doctor's offices. But you want to be purposeful in your outings where you're trying to group as many things as you can on the same day, if your children's attention span will allow it. Like if you're going to be out to the grocery store, can you also drop by the library at that time? If you're going to be at the doctor's office, could you plan a stop at the park to get some energy out on the way home? Just look for different things that you can do in the same community or on the same, it's on the way anyways. You're going that way of town, so what else could you possibly do while you're out? But don't just go places just to go places. Think about what would be intentionally beneficial to your kids. And they can make a list with you, or you can make a list. There's some, I'll put this on with the worksheets, but this is only for Iowa, so you would have to, if you're living somewhere else, you would need to come up with a different list. But it's just different things that are happening in our community that you could take your kids to. Like this one has the Clay County Fair, which is only in September. There's a youth matinee series that I check the website for every once in a while. There's other performing arts. There's a little ski place just a few hours away from our house that I have the number to. There's a museum that has a planetarium. We don't go to these places all the time. I mean, sometimes we go out, to fun events, maybe once every 2 or 3 months. But as a mom, I'm trying to think of things that my kids would enjoy and that I can take them to and that we can make some memories together, because their childhood does fly by and you do want to enjoy it with them and take pictures and enjoy just the memories that your kids have of having fun together. One other thing I wanted to point out is that every mom should have some kind of a planner. This is my planner, and it kind of has turned into more of a filing cabinet. I've got the dates over here so that if I have an appointment at a certain time on a certain day, I can write it over here. But I also have a place over on this side that I can write things that just need to be done anytime during the week. They don't necessarily have to fit into a certain time block. And that helps me because I can stay available for my kids as much as possible for what they need. But then if I do have a moment where they don't need me, then I can choose one of my items that needs to be done during the week to try to go ahead and get that done. So I hope this is helpful to think about a time management system that works for moms. Sometimes the rigid time management systems that they sell in office supply stores don't work for moms because it is so flexible and you do need to be available to your kids. So don't beat yourself up if the expert system isn't working for you. Just think about what you can do in your own home to empty your time and then fill it back up with productive things. When we get closer to the actual homeschool lessons that you'll be doing, it'll make more sense of how you can use those mornings more productively. But for now, just think about what you could be doing with your kids to make it a more pleasant, more productive time, and using your days wisely for the Lord. Next week is Shepherding a Child's Heart, so hopefully you'll have your book by then, and I will see you then.